Well, we'll be joined on the line as part of this discussion by Honorable Isaac Adongo, who is Member of Parliament for the people of Bolga Central. He is a deputy ranking member on the Finance Committee of Parliament. Good morning to you, and I hope you're well.
Yeah, good morning.
That you had decided to use Harry Maguire to do a comparison when it comes to the competence or otherwise of the vice president. Have you seen those publications?
Yes, I've seen them. I have monitored other platforms. I monitored TalkSports. I monitored Sky Sports, and I monitored Troll.com. They just had a heading that really gave a very different impression. But in the body of their stories, they didn't make judgment. So it is not true that they were not happy. The people in Manchester United have consistently been unhappy with Harry Maguire. The whole of this season, Harry Maguire has been on the bench and has only played 4 matches for Manchester United. For a player that is the most expensive defender in England and in the world, that should tell you that even Manchester United is not happy with their star defender. So it will not be right to say that the newspapers were not happy or the people of England were. I was just restating the fact that you will notice after I did that, a lot of people came out with videos of Harry Maguire either tackling his own defenders and giving assists or scoring own goals and actually running away that they thought he was going to celebrate. So these are facts. Now, I did that because, one, I noticed that the World Cup had crowded the interest in the budget. And yet this was the most important budget that was going to hurt us and destroy our livelihoods. But people were not focused on the budget because when Black Stars is playing, you know the emotions of our people. And so the focus was on the football. And I thought carefully and said, look, I want to be able to drum home the legacy and the non-performance of this government, particularly Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, but in a way that takes advantage of the season that we are in. And the season that we are in is a festival of football. And so I decided to use football. And I'm happy that globally, people are discussing who is the vice president. People are discussing what are the economic indicators. People are discussing what it is that is going on in Ghana. And the focus is on His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. So to a very large extent, I think I achieved my objective. And I was very factual both on the case of Harry Maguire and on the case of the vice president. So the issue about economic Maguire has come to stay.
Well, as a Manchester United supporter, I have little, what do they call it, disagreement with you on this matter anyway. Yeah. So,
Honorable, Honor Senator Hui, Maguire she ongos nene ya haya nete. Eti onu kranene de krase Eric Ten Hag kra mono. What is it?
Me football no eno ma bobo ni bia me yakra yina na mo academy. Nti ma bobo la nti bi di boy chipa me bo kraman.
Eno Maguire ne wasa eno no.
Me weekend na boy na me. Say Ghana for muyi playmaker Joma am free na mkofa Maguire ba.
Maguire ba.
Well, Honorable, I realize, but because you spent less than 50 minutes when it came to your turn to talk about the 2023 budget. You didn't seem impressed with the document that was put forward. Subsequently, I'm sure you've watched the short video that has been put forward by the finance minister talking about what he calls the debt exchange program. Does this all add up for you?
Well, in a very serious country, everybody would have been in morning clothes this morning. What the finance minister did yesterday was to announce the death of the economy and basically released the funeral dirges that we'll be singing to bury the economy. But he failed to tell us when the wakekeeping is taking place. That is what he did yesterday. Effectively, what the finance minister did was to say that Ghana has no economy. We want to see how we can start from afresh. That is a very worrying development. And I'm very surprised that they say all this as if this is a normal process. This is a big shock to the our country. And in the words of the governor of the central bank, it may take us 40 years to recover from this. That is the reality of our time.
And because the analogy you use, you're using death. Because we understand these are matters that will be dealt with by deploying some of the options, including the debt exchange that was announced yesterday. But you are calling death and mourning, and is there nothing to recover at all?
All right, so the whole economy revolves around the financial system, and the financial system revolves around debt and the creation of assets and the provision of financial instruments to assist government, the general public, and businesses to create value and to create employment and to create sustainable livelihood. That is what an economy is about. The sum total of everything in an economy is about money. So when money and value is destroyed in a manner that is being done, you expect to see mourning. You expect to see several lives being on the line going forward. And that is why I see this as an announcement of the death of our economy. I see this as an announcement of funeral dirges. And I see the government now wanting to announce from today, possibly when we will have the wakekeeping. And that is a big, big problem. And this is the legacy of one Sakawa family and an economic Maguire to the people of Ghana. This should never have happened. But this is where we are, because Ghanaians, we seem to believe flowery language. We seem to believe people who tend to have this deceptive demeanor of letting everybody know that they can create heaven on earth. And in the end, this is the misery they create for us. Why are we here? Why are we doing what we are doing today? Can the government do anything other than what it is doing? That is the question that we must be asking ourselves. Listen, it is even insulting when they say that you are not going to take a haircut. If you gave government 100 cedis as a principal of a bond, you did that because that bond was giving you 19% interest or 20% interest over a period of 5 to 6 years. When you calculate the net present values of those cash flows that you are going to get, those incomes that you are going to get, and after redeeming that particular bond, whether at the price that you bought it or above the price that you bought it, you generate a certain value that is more than what you put in. That is the reason you do that. Now, when a decision is taken to vary the features of this bond, said that it no longer gives you 19% every year for 10 or 5 years, but that it gives you 0 interest in one particular year, and another year it will give you 5% interest, and another year it will push you to 10%, and whether you want to hold that bond for 2 or 3 years, you must hold it for 10 years. In 10 years' time, that bond is of no value. If you do the net present value today for the next 5 to 10 years, you will realize that the bond, you cannot recover the full amount of money that you put into that bond. So you automatically take a haircut. If you want to find out whether you are taking a haircut or not today, go to the bank or go to any mutual fund or investment bank that you made the investment. They will have to today recalculate the flows and the net present values of these assets that you bought from government. And they will have to determine an intrinsic value of those assets and will arrive at a price at which the next person will be willing to buy it. That next person would buy it at a very high discount. So if it was 100 cedis, that person is likely to tell you that with 0% coupon in 2023, 5% in 2024, and 10% from 2025 for 10 years, please, this bond, I can only buy it at 20 cedis. So you lose 80 cedis. That is the haircut on the principal. So how can anybody look Ghanaians in the face after visiting us with this heinous crime, still be bold enough to lie to us? It's unfortunate. And I expect to see a fight from our banks. They should not trust the Bank of Ghana. Because the Bank of Ghana is going to destroy our financial system, our banks. They should not trust the pension regulator because they are going to erode our pensions. They should not trust the Securities and Exchange Commission because they are the same as Ken Oforiatta. So they should go out and fight and claw back a lot of the value that is being destroyed by this arrangement so that they can protect the interests of the investor community and their customers and their clients. Otherwise, they will be out of business. That is the reality of the time.
How would they fight? Because if somebody owes you and says, I do not have money, this is how I will pay, what do they do?
Listen, that is why we are sovereign. The government of Ghana has assets and properties. When you go to court and they give you a judgment, somehow you place a lien on a certain asset of government. You sell it and take your money. Has Ken Oforiatta returned all the fees he made in buying these bonds that he is now destroying? How can you undertake a contract with investors, wake up one day in your office, take it as a sheet of paper and tear it into shreds, and now come and tell the person, this is now the new one I want you to work with. The old one, I have torn it into pieces. I was not consulted. We haven't discussed it. We have not negotiated and then reached a settlement. This is arrogance of power. You just don't call people into a meeting. People, you've taken billions from them just to announce to them that, look, you no longer have the money. You no longer have the interest that you expected. Your principal will not come until 4 installments for a certain number of years. Your interest, even in subsequent years, have going to be significantly reduced. You have no choice in this. Just remember that I'm cancelling your old contract. I'm tearing it into shreds, and I'm giving you a new contract with these features. Whether you like it or not, that is the position. Is that the country of rule of law that we have? Is that where are the Isankumas of our time? This is the time for them to step out and be counted.
So you are not happy with the consultating process?
Our investment lawyers, as a matter of public interest and the protection of the rights of the people of Ghana and the investor community, must step out now and claim the victory for the people of Ghana. We cannot allow this to go on.
You expect a lot of resistance, largely because listening to you, it looks like you're not happy with the consultative process that led to whatever government has decided.
There was no consultative process. It was a meeting to announce. That's why I call it a funeral announcement. And then they gave you the process they are going to follow. That finally today, they're going to be pomp and pageantry over the funeral that they've announced to you. They're going to launch it. How do you launch a funeral? Look, a lot of livelihoods are at stake. Do you know that people have taken their pensions? They put their monies in government bonds and other mutual funds and pension funds, and that is what they live on. They will wake up today and they are ground zero. And you are launching such an announcement. You are launching the derailment of people's lives. And you say this is a success story. Unfortunately, the people who consciously did this signed contracts with their own companies to milk the people from these bonds, said that even at a point when we were crying, they were busy celebrating their victories with kenke and fish and taking their fees in dollars. They are the people who are asking the poor investor to lose his money while they continue to keep the fees that they collected. Where does this happen in the world? Where? You remember your own station before you were closed down in 2017 when Ken was appointed and they started appointing people to Bank of Ghana and SEC. Do you remember what I told you people on this station? I said by the time he finishes weaving the regulatory architecture, Ken was going to become the biggest risk to our economy and to the financial sector. You didn't believe me. 6 years down the line, do we have a financial sector? Our banking sector today has a risk, a weighted risk or risk-assessed capital, which we call the capital adequacy ratio of 14%. Just 1% above the regulatory Basel 2 and 3 requirement of 13%. Only 1% above the prudential requirement. This banking sector, from 2021 to 2022 October, lost 5% of its risk capital. 5%. At that time, there was no restructuring of our debts. Just simply marking our debt to the market wiped off 5% of their risk assets. Now that we have undertaken this heinous activity, even when they were earning the interest, which is budgeted at 31 billion Ghana cedis in the budget for this year for domestic market, they still lost 5% of their risk capital. Now that they are not going to earn that income, now that their assets that they are holding, which is the Ghana bonds, are going to be significantly revalued, and they will lose not less than 60 to 77% of those assets when they write them off against their balance sheet. We are looking at something like 70 to 75 billion being written off the banking sector capital. Do we have that balance sheet in our banking sector to absorb this nonsense? So after throwing away 25 billion, this is what we are now going to do. We are basically going to kill and wipe off our financial sector. Because some Sakawa family got one of them as a president, and he appointed his nephews and cousins to come and destroy our country for us. How does a king appoint his kinsmen to destroy his empire? Where does that happen? And this is where we are. Our banking sector is on the verge of a bigger wave of attacks than what we experienced in 2018. And this is a clear systemic failure. And the Bank of Ghana is helpless because the Bank of Ghana has been authorized to coerce the banking sector to accept this destruction. Securities and Exchange Commission has been coerced to accept not to defend the interests of the investor community. How did the Securities and Exchange Commission approve such transactions that are already listed on the Ghana Stock Exchange? Our bonds are listed on the Ghana Stock Exchange. Is it not the SEC that approved those prospectus for them to be listed? Has the Securities and Exchange Commission done any evaluation of the impact of this re-evaluation of our assets on the stock exchange? And how can the stock exchange, Securities and Exchange Commission, so be in bed with government as to accept this crime on the people that it regulates? Then the National Insurance Commission, don't be surprised if you have a comprehensive insurance and you get an accident and you go and they don't have money to replace your vehicle because they put their monies or the premiums into this type of investments so that when the incident occurs, they sell off and take care of their liabilities and claims. How are they going to proceed going forward? The pension funds. How are we going to get pension when the value that they have built over the years to support us when we go on retirement is being destroyed today? And they will have nothing to give you and I to go go on pension. And SNIT is sleeping when its own clients and their future is being attacked by the government. How did you get to this culture of silence? That everybody in the financial space somehow have their tail between their thighs. And that there's nobody who can cough in the financial sector because it is Ken that is speaking. How did we get here? It's very, very unfortunate. But you see, if you look at the budget, it is even more scary. If you have the budget, I will refer you to look at page 189. There is a table there called Appendix 3A, Summary of Central Government Operations for 2023. It is very scary in that table. In that table, government is expecting to raise 21 billion from project loans and program loans. These are loans that are tied to specific projects. They cannot be used to do anything else other than those specific projects and programs. It is 21 billion. But government has to pay 22 billion Ghana cedis this year for the Euro bonds that they went to borrow to come and celebrate with King Fish. They can't use this 21 billion to pay. So how are they going to pay the 22 billion? Now, if you go down to look at financing, because of the destruction they've done to the financial sector, they have effectively admitted that the capital market in the domestic market is closed. So they are not expecting a penny from any financial institution in Ghana. They can't borrow from any financial institution. So if you look there, you see that funding from Bank of Ghana, from Ghana commercial banks, non-bank financial institutions, zero. They are not expecting anything. So how are they going to pay? Then they say that they are expecting other financing. And they define that other financing to mean multilateral and other international partners. In other words, IMF and other partners will give us 64 billion Ghana cedis. That is the equivalent of $5 billion in 2023 alone. I didn't know that when you become an orphan and you get adopted by the IMF and you are in the orphanage of IMF, you get 5 billion for free. This wishful thinking. Do they have any confirmed pledges from any international donor community to the tune of that $5 billion? So clearly, this is a budget of wishful thinking. Now they are projecting that next year, that figure will increase to 77 billion. And over 3 years, they are projecting 228 billion Ghana cedis of free money or concessionary loans. Can't you see the economy is gone? Because these are wishful numbers. They are not numbers that are supported by concrete agreements that have been signed by our country. They think that some taxpayer somewhere will give his money to IMF, the World Bank, the African Bank and the rest, so that they'll come and give it to Ghana at interest rate of 1% and give us 25, 30 years to pay. Because we are the star country in Africa and we are a country with very beautiful faces and we are the love of the world. So they will do this to us. Meanwhile, next year, they are expecting to pay 22 billion on the Euro bonds they were collecting. 2024, they are expecting to pay 25 billion. As a matter of fact, if John Mahama becomes president, when John Mahama becomes president in 2025, between 2025 and 2026, John Mahama must find 90 billion Ghana cedis to pay Euro bonds that they've left. Do we still have a country? This is after all that they are doing with the domestic market and taking all these monies from the market and collapsing us. This is the budget they have presented. How is this budget going to be implemented? Now, in this budget, you said that you will get project loans 21 billion. You said that you will get 64 billion free money, concessionary loans. But still, you will do a deficit and borrow 61 billion on a deficit. Then after that 61 billion, when you put all that together, you are getting 146 billion. Despite the 146 billion, you are taxing and taking 143 billion from the poor people of Ghana, whose livelihood you have destroyed, who you have told that the economy will do only 2.8%. The lowest in Africa, in fact, lower than the average for the ECOWAS average. Who does this? So we don't have a budget. We don't have an economy. So if you have closed the capital market, both domestic and international capital market is closed to you, how are you going to raise 61 billion deficit? Who is going to give you that money? Sana?
Is that not the 64 billion that they are raising from other financing sources?
If you have a way of visiting your brother in Togo, go and spend some 3 years there before you come back.
I'd have to stay here because you are here. I'll stay here with you.
You will die, oh. You will die because Agofado and Dr. Mahmoud Baumia. You see, Daniel should be careful. When they come to you delivering lectures, and they are all over the place, promising one village, one dam, roaming at Malata market, buying tomatoes and onions for Samira to prepare teasers and calculating inflation. And they are using rate of change to calculate depreciation of the currency. And they are all over the place promising to move the economy from taxation to production. My brother, be careful when you see them, because they will hurt you. They are dangerous people whose expertise is to hurt and maim and destroy and kill. That is who they are.
Well, the budget is before you in Parliament. And I don't know the extent to which Parliament can intervene when it comes to the matter of the debt restructuring. Is there any way? As for the budget, you have to make a decision on it.
Well, the restructuring itself is a legal matter between investor and government. You have a contract with the people with the government, and the government has decided that I would see technically what they have done is to announce a default in the payment of public debt. They have effectively told you that no, we can't pay you. However, if you agree, or however, we think that if you lose some money, we may be able to pay you over a period. You may recover some of your money over a period of 10 years. That's what they've told you. You know, when you run a business and you take a loan from a bank and you struggle to pay, you know, you go to the bank and say, can you restructure my loan? Because I'm not going to pay, my business situation has changed, my cash flows are not as I predicted. Then they will take you through a process of reassessing your business, reassessing your income, reassessing your cash flows, and reassessing your ability to carry the debt, and agree a payment plan for you to pay. Ghana is now in that position. When we were told in school that government of Ghana debt are risk-free, today, Sana, you are more credit-worthy than the government of Ghana. As for you, people will say that, oh, Sana, or you will pay. As for government of Ghana, you know, there was a time we had this government, this Champions government, who said Yentia. You remember Yentia? Hello?
Yes, that came from the Champion government.
A Champions government, Yentia. Then the first vessel of cocoa got to, landed abroad and they seized it. You remember, they said, oh, you bet ya. You're interested in the income. Ghana's situation now is not Yentia. Yentia. That's what Ken of Orata said yesterday. Yentia. Into Jesus can be shit. Not the Akan Yenve Quire Befaswa. Yebaman Kakan. Equisi Afidu, 10 years. The Bosu be a Becca Kakasa, na Scania Unyanina, a bibashi. Na Kakana, Akana, the Bamount, young farm mount now with the Aquabi Papa. Yamoka Kakaka now the Atafea or no sa, Naskanashi. And this is not some 1,000 Ghana. This is close to 200 billion Ghana cedis. The interest rate for the interest payment, money that should have gone to the people of Ghana in 1 year, 2023, alone is 31 billion. Government says 31 billion, no? I see. And you announce that kind of funeral with a smile on your face. That is heartless.